Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. I'm your host Shelly and I handle marketing initiatives at Nividous. Today's webinar is our joint webinar with our strategic partner AXON Ivy. Now before we begin, let me share quick guidelines. If you face any technical difficulty with audio or video or wish to ask any questions, please use the chat window on the side of the control panel. We will resolve any issues immediately, and we will save time at the end of the presentation to review any questions related to our presentation or in general. We will share the recording of the webinar via email, and the same recording will be also available on our website following the presentation today. Now, I would like to introduce our speakers, Alan Hester. He is the president of Nividous in the US, and Tim Harris. He is the director of sales and development of AXON Ivy. Hi, Alan and Tim. Welcome to the webinar.
Hi, Shaylee. Thanks a lot. Great to be here.
Hi, Shaylee. Thank you.
All right, great. So let me open the presentation with a brief introduction of Nividous, and then I will hand it over to our speakers. Nividous has been operating for 8 years. We have offices in India, UK, and the US. We really focus on helping our customers to succeed with their digital transformation goals by leveraging our vast experience in the process automation space. We offer vertical solutions that are RPA and AI enabled and built on configurable process automation capabilities to empower businesses to operate with flexibility and agility. AXON Ivy is our strategic partner. Together, we want to help businesses in utilizing the maximum potential of two complementary technologies, robotic process automation and digital process automation. Now I would request Tim to share a little background of AXON Ivy and take it forward. Tim?
Sure. Thanks very much, Shaylee, and welcome everybody. I'm Tim Harris from AXON Ivy. As Shaylee mentioned, we are strategic partners with Nividous, and we are very excited to be partnering with them. Together, we have a very complete solution for the DPA marketplace. And while Nividus's focus is more on automating through RPA system processes, our focus is more on automating processes related to human tasks. So the combination of automating system tasks and human tasks, as you'll see later on in the presentation, is a very powerful combination and can yield a lot of business benefits. So just briefly to tell you a little bit about us, we're a company based in Switzerland, but with offices around the world. I'm based in San Francisco. We were founded in 1995, and we have over 2,000 customers and 750 employees worldwide, and well received by analysts like Gartner and Forrester. And so I'm sure if you're interested, we could provide you some more information on that. As I mentioned, our focus is on automating complex and manual business processes. Our system is very open and extensible, and uses open standards. It's very scalable. We have customers from 50 to 30,000 users, and also is a powerful development platform, but also has low code capabilities so that citizen developers, business users can use the system and configure the system to their needs. Like Nividous, we're also a horizontally focused company that in a number of different vertical markets that we have customers. So some of the logos you'll see on the screen are representative customers for AXON Ivy. So that's a quick introduction to who we are, and I'll turn it back over now to Alan, I believe, to give you a little bit more of how the systems work together.
Sure. Thanks, Tim. And Tim will join us again at the end for Q&A if we have some time left. But let's get started in our topic here. And we're going to start with why you might care about this at all. And I think that many of the things you see up on the screen here are not news to you, but businesses today are challenged with meeting customer expectations. Everyone is expecting things to happen very quickly, and they want everything to be tailored to their own needs and personalized. That poses all sorts of challenges to a business, as well as with the current job market, at least in the US, it's very difficult to find good employees and to keep them. And obviously every business wants to keep revenue growing, and for many of our businesses, there are lots of regulatory and compliance needs that governments and other agencies place on us. And it's just hard to keep up with your competition, because you're dealing with, in many cases, some old systems, ad hoc systems where there's not documented processes. You don't have great data that you're dealing with. You have data in all different systems that don't talk to each other, so it's hard to report on it all. And because of that, you end up dealing with a bunch of these non-optimal conditions in some bad ways, and it usually involves taking some of your most valuable resources, your human employees, and causing them to do work that is not really what you hired them to do. The manual, repetitive work that is much better done in an automated fashion, because when a human does it, it's not what they want to do, so they're not paying close attention to it. They might not be super accurate all the time, and they're going to be slow. And because of that, when you can take that off of their plate, you make them happier, and you also get better results. And we'll cover some more of that as we go along here. But as we talked about, the net result of all those conditions is that you have stressed, unmotivated employees that are hard to keep, and you're not getting the most out of them. You want your employees to be thinking about how you're going to be able to compete in the market, whatever market you're in, and taking you to the next level strategically. And all of these manual, repetitive tasks that you put on them keep them from having time to do that. And so when your productivity goes down and you're not innovating for the future, it's not taking your business to where you want it to go. So that's kind of sets the stage for why we would talk about either one of these technologies. But then I'm going to just focus a little bit on each of them and then talk about how they fit well together. And I know the topic is about how to get started with this, and so we are going to get to that, but I would just want to make sure that we're all on the same page first. So to that end, let me just pop up this poll right now so that you can answer where you are, at least relative to RPA. So you should see a screen popping up asking about what your business is currently doing regarding RPA. Either you have RPA currently running in production, or do you have a pilot or proof of concept, or it's something that you're planning to do in the next 12 months, or you're not even thinking about it. So I'll leave that open for a few minutes, and you can click on one of those that applies to your situation. If you don't even know what RPA is at this point, that's okay. Just click on "We have no plans to explore RPA at this time," and hopefully by the end of this, you will know a little bit more about what both RPA and DPA are. All right, let me give you another minute or two. Looks like most of you are already doing something with RPA, which is great. That means that we all know a little bit about what we're talking about here. All right, let me close this down. Thank you for your participation with that. And let's go straight into RPA. So RPA is all about automating repetitive, manual, human tasks using the same interface that a human would use to do the work. So anything that can be set up to follow a set of rules and is working on a system where a human is sitting in front of it doing that work today, that's the kind of task that RPA can do. So RPA is not a physical robot. It's nothing that you have to have a separate office for or anything like that. But it's something that can do that same kind of work. It just is software running on the machine rather than a human sitting in front of the machine. And some of the things that RPA is good at is, as we've already talked about, those repetitive tasks. One of the other things that it's very good at is being able to integrate disconnected systems. So in many cases, you have business processes that involve a lot of different systems that are not tied together. And you could get your IT department to do an integration of those systems, but in many cases that would take a long time and probably cost a lot of money. And your internal IT staff probably already has a lot on its plate. So things like that tend to take a back seat and not get done. So this is where RPA can step in and get something done much more quickly with little to no involvement from your internal IT staff. The other thing that RPA is very good at is reporting. So for all of those manual ad hoc processes where you don't currently have any data available, RPA is going to automatically collect that data and also be able to consolidate it with your other business data and report on them together. And we will show you more about that later, because this is one of the key advantages of combining RPA with DPA. Compliance is another thing where RPA can be very helpful, because along with documenting all of those once manual processes, you get a full audit trail for everything that's done by the bot, so that if you have to be ready for an audit or you have to show compliance in some other way, you have all of that documented and ready to go, so that whatever agencies you have to work with, you're able to give them what they need. And we kind of already talked about data. So let's now move on to digital process automation. So as Tim already mentioned, this is all about automating the human side of the task. So these are things that there is still some human involvement, but they are kind of driven through the workflow of completing those processes, guided by the system. And so this is something that is incredibly important, especially for very long, complex business processes where there is a lot of different steps involved, and they can go in different directions based on the input that is being received, and based on the sometimes market conditions, or based on customer choice, even in some cases. So as you can see on here, there are lots of different pieces of this, but let me kind of skip over, and we'll dig into a little bit more by talking about how the two pieces work together. So RPA on its own is very good at automating those manual repetitive tasks. But as you can imagine, in your own business, most of your business processes involve many different discrete tasks in order to get done. So when you think about those tasks, some of them can be automated by a bot, but others need to continue to be done by humans for whatever reasons. In some cases, it's just to check work that's done by the bot. In other cases, they're getting input from dealing with a customer, or dealing with some other kind of out of office system or interaction that a human has to do. So RPA on its own is kind of missing the ability to both consume and report on those complete end-to-end processes. And that's why many of the RPA companies that are out there are now talking about orchestration. And orchestration is all about bringing together the human tasks and the bot tasks, and that can be achieved by combining an RPA tool with a DPA tool like AXON Ivy. So if you think about what analysts are saying, and I know everyone has their own opinions about how much value to give to what analysts are saying, but Gartner is saying that most RPA implementations are really going to get their value not from RPA alone, but by delivery of the RPA tool with complementary technologies like DPA. And I think we're seeing that the market is already shifting in that direction, although Gartner is saying by 2022, I think the number is still going to be pretty high even in 2020. And you could see that this is a huge market. There are almost all enterprises at this point are thinking about this technology, if not already doing something about it. I think the one thing that we have found interesting in the past year or so is how accessible this is regardless of the size of your business. So when we first started getting into this space, we were dealing mainly with large enterprises because those were the businesses where we saw the value in automating these complete end-to-end processes. And we thought that, because of the complexity of those solutions and the time and cost to implement them, that those were the kinds of companies that we really need to target in terms of our customer base. But what we're finding in the past year or so is that even very small companies in the mid-market and smaller are now gravitating towards RPA as an entry point to a more integrated solution with RPA and DPA over time because it sets the bar so low. And when I say it sets the bar so low, I mean in terms of it being easy to implement, being quick to implement, and being fairly low cost to implement. So this is something that you can see a very quick, tangible return for the minimal investment of your time and money. So how do you get started? As I said, one of the great things about RPA is it gives you a very low risk way to get started with a very minimal investment. You're able to prove out the technology internally before you make a larger investment. If you think about your average IT project, whether you have your own internal IT department or not, you're probably familiar with how IT projects work. And typically you go to your internal group or to an external consultant, get an estimate, and you realize that it's something that's going to be hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars and be an implementation timeline that's extending out over the course of months or possibly even years. And you wouldn't often see the return on that until even years past that point. Well, with RPA and DPA, what you can see is a much quicker return, a quicker implementation timeline, and a quicker time to realize the ROI to your business. And I think that those are the things that you need in order to get the acceptance within your company to move forward with a larger initiative. So what we typically see companies doing is starting off with a small, what you think of as low-hanging fruit, a small project where there is a very significant pain point that can be solved through automation. And so when you start with that and you can implement that quickly and for a fairly low cost, then that's something that can be the test case for being able to move forward with larger, more complicated projects later. So we have some case studies here that I wanted to talk a little bit about, but because we're a little limited on time. I'm going to skip past these right now and move us to a quick demo that I want to play for you that kind of gives you a little bit of insight on how these two technologies combine to deliver some of the things that we're talking about. So I'm going to play a video for you right now. It's very short, and there are text cues on the screen to guide you through it as it plays. So when this is done, and as I said, it's only a couple minutes, then we'll come back and go through the remaining content. Okay, great. So hopefully that gave you some idea of what it actually looks like to see these technologies working together. And I know that was very fast, but we tried to speed it up a little bit so that you got a good taste of what a typical process would look like. And if you want to take a deep dive into any pieces of that, obviously you can ask more questions via the question pane on your screen right now, or you can contact us via email if you want to ask some more questions, and we're certainly happy to get back to you or do a complete demo. But that process obviously was a loan origination process, and we use that as an example because it's something that most people are familiar with. But the functions that were performed apply to many different processes. You know, it was kicked off with an email, and typically a person would receive that email and they'd have to manually save that email and copy and paste the content out of that PDF loan application into another system. But in this case, that data was extracted automatically by the RPA bot from that PDF file, and then it could be checked by a human before, if needed, before it would go on to the next step in that DPA process, which is entering it into whatever the ultimate loan origination system is, if whether that's a web-based system or if that's some kind of legacy system. But in any case, that complete path could be automated through the combination of RPA and DPA. So a couple of other case studies we have here that I'll have you look at real quickly to give you a sense for other places where companies have been able to combine these technologies to great effect. So this is a medical case where patient data is being extracted automatically for being entered into the systems that the provider uses. And this once was a very manual process of being able to extract the relevant data from really, in this case, faxed files, and manually enter that into the record system. Another process that's very common for RPA is different pieces of the hire to retire process or onboarding process for new employees, or it also could be vendors or partners. All of those different onboarding processes have different challenges and often require lots of different systems that don't talk to each other at different parts of the process. And so that is a very important piece that RPA can come in and fill, is being able to consolidate those systems so that you can get reporting across all of them of what is happening with this particular process through one interface. And then loan processing, as we already talked about in the demo itself, is another good case. And one of the things that is a very important example of the power of combining RPA and DPA is in the dashboarding or reporting. As you can see in the dashboard that's showing on the lower right of your screen right now, this isn't talking about specific steps in a particular task. This is giving loan information that is pertinent to someone who is looking out for this end-to-end business process on the enterprise level. So rather than saying this step took X number of seconds or minutes to complete and we completed X number of these steps, this is talking about how many loans are in which stage of the process, how many of them are completed, how many of them are stuck at particular steps. And this is the kind of data that you generally need in order to run your business. So I'm going to skip past this. The RPA system has different components to it, but I'm going to kind of end on this piece because this kind of highlights something that is really changing with both RPA and DPA. Currently, we see a focus in our software on building in more artificial intelligence and machine learning type functionality, because really these systems are all about being able to reduce the number of exceptions that you have to handle, because that's how you drive the productivity up in your organization, is to reduce the number of exceptions that you have to deal with. And by incorporating a lot of these advanced artificial intelligence functions, you are able to accomplish that over time. So I think we're pretty close to being out of time, but as I said, if you have, even though we don't really have time to go through your questions here in this session because we want to be respectful, if you have any additional questions, you can send those to us and we will get back to you via email. Any questions that you've already entered into the portal, we will also get back to you with the answers to those. And if you're interested in any more information or in a demo of either AXON Ivy or Nividous RPA, or both of them working together as what we showed you here, we would be happy to arrange that for you and also talk to you more about how you could get started in your particular organization. Because one of the things that we have learned in being in this business is that one size does not fit all, and often the biggest challenge to getting started in a particular organization is knowing where to start. So we have a lot of experience having started this or helped start this in many different companies over the years, and we can certainly help you with that process. So Shaylee, why don't you give whatever additional details are needed before we close this out?
Sure. Thank you so much, Alan and team, for sharing valuable information. And we all hope that this session was quite informative for all the attendees. Um, I don't have much to add, but yes, I would definitely like to mention that do visit our websites. We conduct such interesting webinars every month, and that is going to be announced on our website. So you can keep the watch on that space. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Shaylee. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you very much.